Hey everyone, and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be looking at common philosophical conflict mistakes, common theme mistakes, and some mistakes that you may be making in your writing right now. Now, if you're interested in identifying all the problems in your screenplay, solving them one-on-one with me, and easily rewriting it in 60 to 90 days, then if you're interested in that, then there's a link below this video where you can book a call with me and we can talk about it. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video here. Okay, so common philosophical conflict mistakes. If you're not familiar with the term, also think about common theme mistakes, this sort of thing. And if you watched my recent rewriting crash course series, then you should have a decent understanding of what I'm talking about here. So what I've seen when I've been working with clients one-on-one is that a lot of times they may even know kind of like what their story's philosophical conflict is about in an abstract way, but it's not clear. So the number one, the biggest element is clarity. And the reason that I actually, write out a philosophical conflict like this when I talk about viewpoint 1 and viewpoint 2 is because your theme is too abstract, right? What happens is people say, oh, well, my story's about this and this, and it's kind of about this, right? But if they don't actually say, okay, viewpoint 1 is what? Okay, it's this, 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 this. Viewpoint 2 is what? Okay, it's this, 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 this. Okay, are these two viewpoints actually in conflict with each other? Can we see that these are actually different points on the same sort of argument? And then we can place characters on this line in between the two viewpoints, right? This is way clearer than a theme, right? Than just saying, okay, my story is about moral choice or it's about family. It's like, okay, well, that doesn't mean anything really. There's nothing tangibly there that we can then take and then integrate into the story. We need to have clarity on, okay, viewpoint 1, this character believes blank, 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 blank. Viewpoint 2, this opposing character believes blank, 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 blank. Clearly these things are in opposition. Now we can have our story. So this is the biggest thing, right? Is actually clarifying the theme of your story and making it into an actual philosophical conflict. Now, another big thing I see is that they will not attach the philosophical conflict to characters. So essentially what happens is, right, you actually do this correctly. You build out your viewpoint 1, it's beautiful, nice and perfect. You build out your viewpoint 2, oh wow, it looks so nice. Clearly they're opposed to each other. But then we actually get down into our characters and then they keep all of the beliefs from their previous drafts with the characters, right? They don't actually take this belief or this belief and actually place it on to the characters, right? And then this is another disconnect because they like the idea of their initial characters and they don't really want to change it that much. So then they try to shove the old versions of their characters and their old versions of the character beliefs into this new philosophical conflict and hope that it fits, right? Whereas this is not the way to look at it. You want to be willing to completely rebuild your characters based upon the actual philosophical debate that you build in your conflict and your philosophical, ethical, moral conflict. This is going to actually create your theme, right? So this is a big element. When you were looking at your characters, like literally the easiest way to do this is just say, okay, protagonist believes either they believe viewpoint 1, viewpoint 2, or they're right in the middle and they're going to be pulled both ways, right? So ideally you say, okay, protagonist believes viewpoint 1, right? So whatever other versions of their beliefs that you have, you essentially move that to the side. Say, okay, they believe viewpoint 1. Okay, my antagonist believes viewpoint 2. Okay, great. Now this is a lot clearer. Now your protagonist, especially your protagonist, if they go through change, they may sit in the center, right? And then what you may have is your sort of, mentor character over here. You have this a lot of the time, or you may have like, sort of a sidekick whatever you want to call it, sort of character over here. Then you have kind of antagonist on this side, and then your protagonist essentially gets pulled both ways. So example, this would be a great example for this would be like Star Wars. So Luke Skywalker sits in the center, and then you have kind of Ben Kenobi over here, and then, you know, Vader over here, right? So, and then also you have, you know, Han Solo, which also pulls him in another direction of like, you know, kind of against the Force or against Ben Kenobi's views. And so Han Solo would honestly sit more so like over here as like another minor antagonist. You know, he's challenging Luke's beliefs just like Ben Kenobi is challenging his beliefs into saying, hey, come to viewpoint one. And Vader is obviously saying, hey, you know, join me and together we can rule the galaxy, right? So that's kind of a version of how this would look. Now, another big thing that I see is, put this down here, is they don't want to break the plot, right? So essentially, right, you have this first draft, right? You've written out this feature-length story, and suddenly, you know, I've come in and I've said, hey, okay, what's your philosophical conflict? You know, let's look at this, let's look at this, let's look at this. And then they don't want to actually break the plot or change the plot in any real way because they just wrote, you know, 110 pages. It's like, oh my gosh, how in the world are we going to save my plot? It's like, okay, well, again, if you look at the first video in my Rewriting Crash Course series, I ask, what is the most important part of your story, right? Because it is not your external plot. Your external plot exists to serve these elements, right? Your characters and your philosophical conflict, right? So you have to be willing to break your plot and radically change the actual beat-to-beat plot of your story if you want to create a stronger philosophical conflict and stronger characters in your story. But a lot of times people don't want to do that because, you know, it can, you know, be frustrating to do a rewrite and these sorts of things. However, if you are constantly worried about like keeping every single one of your major plot points, even if it doesn't work with the story you're actually trying to tell, then you're going to have a confused story. You're going to have an unfocused story. And so as you'll see here, a lot of this is about clarity in the focus and the vision of your story and keeping everything aligned to that, right? Because ultimately your story is going to be about, you know, one thing. It's going to be about, you know, this sort of debate here, and everything kind of serves that debate together until you get to your end. We have some sort of stated theme that the story gets to, right? So this is kind of how it's going to look. So hopefully this is helpful. It's just a few major mistakes that I've noticed. If you're interested in working with me one-on-one to identify all the problems in your script, solve all of them, and easily rewrite your story, then click that top link in the description and we can talk about it. Other than that, I will see you in the next video.